Welcome to Asgard Strength Talk, where together we can forge ourselves into the ultimate weapons. Enjoy.
All right, here we are, episode 2 of Asgard Strength Talk. I believe in the last episode we mentioned that we're going to talk about the art of coaching versus the science of coaching. So that's what we're going to cover this episode. If you're not familiar with us, if you didn't catch our first episode, go back and you can see it on our site. Go watch it, learn a little more about us and what we're all about. We're all about improving athletic performance and creating better athletes so that they can perform better on the court, on the field, whatever their given sport is. So that's who we are. Go give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and let's get on into the art of coaching versus the science of coaching. So, Daniel, let's start with you, man. What does the art of coaching look like for you?
For me, and I'm sure that, the art of coaching is multifaceted, so I'm probably going to miss a couple things, but I know two of the things I really wrote down for me were the art of coaching is, relationships, with your athletes that you work with, is one aspect of it. And then the other is kind of the ability to notice when they're like fatigued or what their mood, what their motivation is for the session. And I think that the second part feeds off the first one. If you have really great relationships with your athletes and you really get to know them, you can kind of see what's going on before they even step into the room. And then you can use that to kind of help identify, like, what kind of mood are they in? Do they look fatigued? They're not moving as well as normal. What's their motivation? So I think that the art aspect is, something that you acquire by just being around them, not only inside the weight room, but outside the weight room, getting to know them as a person, what motivates them, what makes them tick. And then you can take it into the weight room, just learning how to coach the lifts in general, but also just building off those relationships.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty nice little description there. Dylan, do you have anything to add to that?
Like Daniel, my kind of definition was very relationship based, but I kept it pretty general. For me, the art of coaching is not just how you coach. So whether you're like more reserved or you're a big hype guy, but it's how you connect and build relationships with those you serve. So kind of along the same lines, but I think it's very applicable to anything that you do, even if you're not a coach. Everything's about building relationships. So, and I wrote a quote down that I'll probably mention later that Daniel probably knows what it is. I'll just go ahead and say it. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. Now, would you say the art of coaching, is it also involve like building relationships with the rest of the athletic department as well, Or is it just strictly limited to developing relationships with players?
Definitely not limited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and add something to that real quick. I think that's one of the most important aspects of coaching is, having, you may have buy-in from your players, but if you don't also have buy-in from your coaches and your administration, and your rocket ship's not going to go as far as you plan on it to go. And I think that when I first moved up here to Ohio and took over this high school strength program, one of the guys on our advisory board, Carlo Alvarez, the first thing he said to me was, your first year you should just focus on relationships. And, I really took that to heart. And, we got great administration, great coaches. I have a great relationship with all of them, I would say. And, it makes my job a lot easier. So, 100%. It's not only in the weight room with the student athletes, it's with every single person you work with. And that includes the maintenance guys. That includes the cafeteria people. I mean, you should be treating everyone with respect and forming those relationships because you never know when, they may need your help or you might need their help.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it just seems like relationships are king, in this day and age, whether you're searching for a job or you're trying to help maybe an intern out. Like the more people you know, the better your chances are of maybe helping somebody lock up a good position or just grow within the industry yourself, It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I think, Daniel, your relationship when I've been up to see you at Austintown is, especially with the maintenance staff, is huge because those are the guys that put in those hours of sweat, helping you build your new weight room. And I'm sure that's like that anywhere. And, no, I think the relationships with your administration is huge because, they may make the decision on how big your budget is for the following year. And
it's a good point.
They may not think it, but whether or not you have a good relationship with them could impact that potentially,
Yeah. How much buying you have from them. Yeah, no, that's good stuff. Now let's talk about the science of coaching. Let's go ahead and define that. Let's take a shot at it.
Dylan, you go first this time.
All right. So I probably kept it pretty general, just like I did in my first one. Let's see what I had written down. Your ability to create a proper planned evidence-based program for the current needs of your athletes, as well as the desired adaptations for their sport. And then obviously you got to know how to coach within that. But I think also your care or your art of coaching goes into the implementation and creation of your program or the science, because it's for the athlete's benefit and the team's benefit, not just our ego as coaches is, hey, I really want to do Olympic lifts, so we're going to do them. And you may say, well, they can't do them very well. No, we're just going to do them. So you got to kind of for me, it all runs together, and I know that's probably not what you're wanting from this or what we're wanting from this, but I just couldn't break away from your care. Going back to the word care, like your care for your athletes and your team, it goes into like what you build for them. I feel like I may have run a little bit, but
no, you're good. That was good. Daniel, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, really, for me, when I look at the science, I'm sure there's a lot more aspects to this than what I'm going to say. So the two things I'm going to say are broad. I kind of look at periodization and then programming. They're two different things.
Very quantitative, though.
Huh?
I said they're both very quantitative things.
Yeah, and I think it's your knowledge of them and things that you do in the weight room. You always got to be looking to continue your education, looking to get better. Figuring out what science and what system fits your needs, kind of like Dylan talked about. I mean, my weight room's different from Dylan's weight room, and that's going to change us. That's going to cause us to maybe program a little differently. And the high school athlete's schedule is different from the college athlete's schedule. So that's going to cause us to periodize a little differently as well. So that to me is,
They probably have different athletic needs, too, at the high school level than at the college level.
You would be surprised how raw some of the college kids are sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's a different podcast.
Is there? Yeah. So, continuing about the science of coaching, does anybody have anything else to add to that definition there?
No. I mean, I don't.
When I think of the art of coaching, I think of things that are very qualitative. Like I think of being able to just being a good communicator and knowing what buttons to push to get the right responses from people so that you can inspire people to produce great results and give great effort in the weight room. When I think of the science of coaching, I think of just understanding physiology and understanding what physical implications this program is going to have on this athlete. I think of fatigue management. I think of more quantitative things that are more measurable via numbers. And, going back to what you were saying, Dylan, you can't just have one. You've got to have both. Coaching just doesn't work, or at least strength and conditioning doesn't work unless you have both. Because you could have the greatest scientifically involved program in the world, and not know how to get a response from your athletes, and what good is that? Or maybe you don't know how to coach the movements that you've got in your program. So, there's that too. Yeah. So that's kind of what I think of when I think of the art of coaching and the science of coaching, and how they're different, but why they're both so important. Now let's go into what are things that we can do to improve our skills as coaches. Like if I want to get better in the art of coaching, what do I need to do to go hone those skills?
Well, I think, I'm a part-time instructor for kinesiology, and I teach strength training and conditioning. And for me, it's like, we do a pretty good job, teaching the science of it. But to me, like, you're not going to learn the art until you get in that room and you start coaching kids and you start being around them. Like, you can be like a phenomenal, I'll just say X's and O's, guy or girl. But until you get in there and you get stuck in front of 30 kids and they're like, all right, here we go, it's your rodeo. You're not going to know what you're going to get. So that's one of the big things for me is like, as you're coming up, let's say you're just someone that's starting out before your first internship or things like that. Even just doing personal training is you working on your craft and your art of coaching. So it may not be big groups or even small groups or anything like that, but that's just the beginning. And all you're doing is you're laying the foundation for everything else that is to come later on. So just as much as you're spending time in those books learning the science, you need to be spending your free time as much as possible coaching. I know that when I was an intern, a student assistant, and then a GA, I was always not just coaching at my internship or at my GA. I was trying to coach people outside of that because I knew that I needed to put in the hours to kind of hone in on my art of coaching. So I think that's really important. Like, you just can't, you just don't read the books and know it and then just magic. There's the art of coaching. That's not how it works.
Great coach. Yeah. No, I think that's a great piece of advice right there. You're just not going to become better at coaching unless you coach. Just like a basketball player is not going to become better at basketball unless they play basketball. It's that black and white, I guess, with that particular aspect. What about mentors?
I think just having mentors or being
Yeah, I mean, I could see that playing a huge role in somebody's growth as being a great coach. I think mentors are extremely important. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that's huge for the art and the science.
Yeah.
But I think as far as the art or just like how you coach, I mean, not only they're going to be a big influence, it could be positive or negative. And negative doesn't necessarily mean that person's a bad coach, but just their style doesn't mesh with yours.
Your style. And maybe there's things you can take away from that experience too.
No doubt, because I know I'm way different now than I was when I was an intern. So like when I was an intern, I was maybe trying to copy, Daniel or Ben here at ETSU or Coach Johnson. And then from that, learn, the hard way that people are going to see through when you're not just being yourself. And I learned that pretty early on. And it wasn't like I was trying to be something completely different. But, finally I just realized you just need to be yourself, And I think that's the big part now that I really, not that I just learned it, I just kind of always knew it, but didn't think it needed to be told or taught to interns coming in to us. But now that I feel like that's like a huge thing, like don't lose track of who you are as a person. Find that way to build your art, and then with that, build your relationships, and not think of building relationships as being best friends with the players. Because you don't want them to think of you as a best friend, and then when you go to get on them because they mess up, then they just don't listen to you. So there's definitely that balance of, okay, what's a relationship and what's being like too close. And I guess too close, lack of a better phrase. I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely a fine line there, and that can be a tricky balancing act for some people. I know when I was an intern, that was weird for me. That was probably something that I struggled with, was finding that balance between being serious coach, but I can't be too friendly with them at the same time, because then they'll lose respect with me. So I get that 100%. Does anybody have anything else to add to ways to improve the art of coaching?
I think that mentors are really important. You just got to find your situation and what works best for you. You may be at a college and you may be an assistant and you're under a head guy, and maybe that guy is your mentor. But for me, being a head guy at a high school, I may not necessarily have that. I mean, I have Coach Johnson, who I spent a long time with. That if I have any questions, I'll reach out to him. But one book, I can't think of the name of it at the moment, that I read just basically said that you're a sum of the 5 people that you associate yourself with the most. So I know that when I got to high school, I was immediately like, who are the 5 smartest guys in the room, and how can I get or girls, and how can I get myself around them? And there's been times that I've gotten around them, I've spent some time with them, and I left, and I thought to myself, wow, I'm really dumb. But if I'm constantly talking and you're constantly surrounding yourself with those 5 people, whatever your goal is, if they're someone that they're at the end point that you want to get to, you need to surround yourself with them, because they're going to cause you to be better. But you also need to surround yourself with the people that are kind of on your, me and Dylan started out as an intern while I was a GA, but I don't look at him like he's lower than me. He's equal to me, and when I know that he's getting better, that it's pushing me to get better as well. So, find 5 people. If you're in a situation where you don't have a mentor, find 5 people to surround yourself with. They don't have to live next door to you, but just find 5 people, that are great coaches, and you just need to associate with them and do it on a regular basis, and do it and push yourself to be a better coach. So that's a solution if you don't have just one mentor, I would say.
That's a fantastic piece of advice right there. It's so true. The higher caliber people you can surround yourself with, whether it's, coaching, business, whatever it is, in the weight room, maybe you're an athlete, surround yourself with the best athletes, or the people with the best attitudes. It's going to rub off, and it's going to have an impact and an influence on your outcome. That was phenomenal. If we don't have anything else to add to the art, let's talk about how we can develop the science of coaching skills.
One more thing for the art, and maybe it's just more of a resource, would be, I just started reading it, Conscious Coaching by Brett Bartholomew. Daniel, I think you've read it.
I've read it. It's a really good read. It was an eye opener for me, for sure.
Right. So I just see it all the time on social media throughout strength conditioning coaches that it's a highly recommended book to learn more about the art of coaching. And I think that's literally in the title somewhere. It's like the art of coaching to building buy-in or something like that is like the subtitle. But that was just a resource recommendation.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Fantastic stuff. Conscious Coaching, Brett Bartholomew. Go read it. I kind of want to read it now. It sounds sweet. I'm kind of a nerd for psychology stuff like that.
Yeah, he connects it to more than just, athletics. Like he says it multiple times throughout the books that this can be used on so many different, career paths or anything.
Yeah, so, that's dope.
Definitely a good one.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. All right, moving on to the science of coaching. What can we do to improve those skills? Anybody.
I think beyond just reading, books or articles or journals, online, I think the big thing also to not forget is, like Daniel said earlier about the art, getting in the weight room and coaching. I think also 2 things: getting in the weight room and lifting yourself, and maybe you watch how you lift and coach yourself, and then also reaching out to other coaches. Like Daniel just said, surround yourself with 5 people surround yourself, maybe within those 5 people, you can also reach out to them and learn the science or what they do of their coaching. Again, two in the same, just 2 different facets of it, I think is huge. And finding those people, even if you just follow them on social media, is huge. Now, obviously, social media, take things with a grain of salt, know the context, rather than just watching a video of an exercise, or sets and reps, things like that. But I think that's, a big way to do it. I always felt, taking what you learn and then practicing it. I mean, Daniel, how many times did we just create programs for ourselves when we were GAs just to be guinea pigs on ourselves and to see, okay, what do we need to do? What are our goals? What do we want? All right, are we doing 5-3-1? Okay, we're doing 5-3-1. Our goal is to build strength. Okay, let's build some strength. 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever go by, we retest, reassess, and see what we got from it, how it felt each day, things like that. So I think practicing it yourself is huge.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I mean, I know that during our time together as GAs, like, we do 6-day-a-week programs, 5-day-a-week programs, 3 days a week. I mean, we did tier system, we did upper lower splits. I mean, we did a little bit of everything during our time, and I think that having skin in the game is important, and that kind of helps with the science side of it. But another one for me, and it goes back to surrounding yourself. Like, I'll see things on social media, and I'm not that individual that wants like what I would consider like a handout. Hey, will you give me your program and like I'm going to take it for a test run? I mean, I don't really ever ask to see anyone's program, but I will always catch myself asking like, well, why do you do that? Because I think that an important part of the science is knowing why you are doing something, and if not just like, oh, because it was my favorite exercise when I was in high school. It's important to know the why behind it. And if they can give me a good why, I'm going to go and I'm going to research that as well. And then I'm going to say, oh, well, that's solid. Or maybe I didn't find as much stuff as I wanted to on that. So it goes back to having those connections, having them be willing to share with you, and then you share with them, and then just knowing your why behind it, and knowing that there's a good solid either a scientific reason that you're doing it, or this is something that you're taking from having lots of skin in the game as far as lots of years coaching and seeing that this method is working.
Yeah, no. When I think of ways to improve the science of coaching, a lot of what we know about physiology and the human body isn't going to change. Like, there's just certain things that we know and about the body, and that's the way it is. But now training theory is a thing, and so the theory is attached to that for a reason, because it hasn't been proven. And so I love, Daniel, we have this conversation all the time, and it's fantastic. But I think exposing yourself to as many ideologies as you can, and then understanding the science behind how your body adapts, and then making that the best decision based off of the various ideas that you've exposed yourself to fit your athletes. And I think the more you can read, the more you can be around people who have been there and done that, the better chances you're going to have of getting better at the science of coaching.
Mm-hmm. Now, me and Drew have some good knockdown dragouts where we're just kind of yelling at each other, and we're not really getting anywhere. And then at the end, we're like, okay, those are some really good points. Until next time.
All right. And we basically agree at everything. We might not, like, for the most part, we agree on the same stuff. Like, we may disagree on very minute stuff. Like, I don't know how to put this, but like, we basically agree that some form of periodization that uses phase potentiation is the best way to go. Now, I don't necessarily believe, in concurrent training. I believe in concentrated loading, but I do believe in concurrent training to an extent. We just disagree on those levels of how much you should use it and how much you shouldn't, basically. So, but at the fundamental level, we both pretty much agree, that periodization is a pretty awesome way to train athletes if you structure it and prioritize it appropriately.
Absolutely. And the thing is like,
one of those arguments.
Yeah, we'll record one next time. But it's really just an argument that makes us both better, because it makes us understand both sides of the argument too. Because like we're not just arguing. We're having a conversation that we're very passionate about, and we each end up getting better from it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And how do you get better at something unless you can have a conversation and talk about it? It's like you can't just shut yourself off from somebody with opposing viewpoints from you and expect to get better. I mean, you've got to understand the thought process behind the other argument. You can't just. That's why I said before, exposing yourself to so many ideologies and then being able to make your decision, in my opinion, is the way forward. But
if you're not willing to listen and change, I mean,
yeah,
especially in this field, you need to just find something else to do. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, and I think that's great that you guys have those conversations. And a quick side note, I think a lot of our stuff on our site, Drew, for anyone who doesn't know, Drew made our site and does a lot of the tech stuff for us. And one thing to understand is that Drew's on here because he also has knowledge about what we do within strength conditioning, all right? So he's on here not just because he looks good and he talks good to the camera. He knows a little bit about what he's talking about, and I love hearing that you guys go at it sometimes. And that's why I'm here, to learn. I know I said that last time on the podcast, and I'll say it again. I'm here to learn. I'm here to have discussions, and I think, getting better with the art and the science that's what it's going to take. And I think this being our second episode is huge, and it's a great place to start to help others grow.
Oh yeah. We just want to be a great resource for young coaches or athletes looking to get better at their craft. Does anybody have anything else to add to how to improve on the science of coaching?
I do not.
I don't.
All right.
I mean, there's probably more, but hey.
Oh, dude, yeah. I know we're missing stuff, but we can just talk about it in a later episode if it comes to us. So let's go ahead and wrap this up and leave on a motivational note. So if anybody has a motivational story, motivational quote, or anything that might inspire our viewers to go hit the gym or download a program, give it a test run, what do we got?
Ooh, on the spot. I mean, I'll just say something very general. If you're looking to start in this pandemic, or when you get access to a gym, if you want to make a start and to make yourself better, for not only for yourself, but to make a great example for those around you, whether it's a family friend, son, daughter, whatever. I think what we're building now is going to be huge for anyone, whether you're the everyday athlete, high school athlete, college athlete, away from their strength coach, or a coach to learn how to coach their athletes better or make themselves better. I think be a part of what we're going to do. Hit us up with questions, and I think you can make a start to better yourself each and every day.
Yeah, I think Dylan touched on like the programs and things like that. Just to kind of build on the the 5 people you surround yourself with. I think I just want to challenge people that if you're a student athlete and you want to reach a level that you're not at yet, maybe nutrition's a big thing for you. All right, you need to surround yourself with 5 people that have the type of nutrition that you need to enhance your athletic potential. Maybe you're a coach and you've not done as much talking with other coaches that you want to. All right, get out of that comfort zone. Pick 5 people to start surrounding yourself with that don't reinforce your thought process, that think a little bit differently from you, because you're only going to grow when you get uncomfortable. So I would just challenge, athletes, surround yourself with 5 people that you know are going to raise your level in something that you're uncomfortable with. And 9 times out of 10, especially for the high school athlete, that's going to be nutrition. And then, if you're a coach, regardless of whether you're high school, college, or professional or whatever, reach out to 5 people that may not necessarily, train or agree with you on everything, and challenge yourself in that way and challenge yourself to grow.
Awesome
Get
stuff.
comfortable being uncomfortable.
Absolutely. My motivational little piece, little bit, is don't be scared to be the hardest worker in the room. So I think of the law of attraction, and most of the time, 80% of the time, the luckiest dude in the room is the hardest worker. So work.
Thanks for joining today's episode of Asgard Strength Talk. Please give us a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Visit AsgardAthleticSystems.com to find our blogs, programming, and more. And remember to join us next time on Asgard Strength Talk, where performance is built.